Today we're going to be reviewing the articles that I've been giving you for homework. I feel like lately there's been kind of a disconnect between the homework assignments and the class material. When I originally made these homework assignments like 3 years ago, it was meant to go hand in hand with class, but with this apologetic stuff, I kind of like to let the discussion develop organically, and then the homework doesn't always mesh perfectly with what we talk about. So today we're just going to talk about these articles, and we're going to look at the contents of them and make sure that you guys understand what they're saying and stuff like that. So the first one we're going to look at is called Bent Rock Layers. It is by Dr. Andrew A. Snelling, and it was featured in Answers Magazine on July 10, 2021. Might have been featured more recently than that, I don't know. But it features photos of, I believe it's Dr. Snelling himself, and perhaps his wife or kids or something like that. So it's kind of a fun article for that. So the idea here is that there exist rock layers. Now, where should I start? I'm going to start with the evolutionary perspective on the rock layers and stuff. So one of the big problems with the theory of Darwinian evolution is that it says that the Earth is millions of years old, billions of years old, in fact, and the Bible only allows for an Earth that's about 6,000 years old, give or take. So huge difference there. And they both require that they be true. The theory of evolution doesn't work if the Earth is only 6,000 years old, because evolution is so incredibly slow and gradual that it would have to take billions of years for life to evolve, for the universe to come into being, and everything like that. If it's possible at all, it would have to take billions of years. There's just no way anybody can conceive of that happening by chance in only 6,000 years. Conversely, the Bible, the age of the Earth cannot be more than 6 or so thousand years old, according to the biblical narrative. Not 6 or 7. I didn't.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to whip you with this charging table.
But in any case, the Bible allows for the Earth to be about 6,000 years old, and it can't be much older than that because for lots of reasons. We actually haven't talked that much about why theologically it's important that the Earth is young, but the Bible says the Earth is young, and if you can't believe the age of the Earth from the Bible, then why would you believe anything else from the Bible? So, we affirm the Bible from the very first verse, and the Bible is clear that the Earth is not much older than 6,000 years. So, this article that I had you guys read here is a discussion of some unique rock layers that are made visible in the Grand Canyon. So, according to the theory of evolution, the whole Earth is covered by layers of sedimentary rock. So any of you Minecraft players should know that down here at the bottom we have the bedrock, which according to evolutionary theory is the layer of cooled lava that formed on primordial Earth. Back, way long ago, the Earth was covered with lava. The lava cooled, formed the bedrock, and then, ever since the lava cooled, over the course of millions of years, layers of what's called sedimentary rock have formed.
I knew that.
Yep, you're familiar with the word sedimentary rock? It literally has the word sediment in it, which is like, sediments are just like the junk that's carried along by water. And so the idea with sedimentary rock is that it is made up of grains of sand or clay or other stuff like that were carried along by water and then settled to the bottom of the body of water, whether it's a river or an ocean or whatever. The sand settled, and then over time, with increased pressure from water and more sand and stuff, the sand hardened into a rock. Sedimentary rock also contains chemicals that cause it to harden, kind of like the chemicals in cement. If you have cement, it's just sand, but if you add water to it, it becomes a pliable, clay-like substance for a while, and then it quickly hardens into something like a rock. And according to evolutionary theory, these sedimentary rock layers formed over millions of years. So this first one, might have taken, and I'm making these numbers up, I don't have them memorized, but that might have been, nope, that's wrong, not years ago. We're just going to call that 60 million years, and then this one maybe took 70 million years, and this one took 110 million years, and this one might have only taken 40 million years, but...
Wouldn't it be the other way around?
No, because what I'm saying is that this layer took 60 million years to form, and then something happened, and the composition of the rock that was forming the layers changed, and so that next rock layer was another 70 million years. And according to this article, if you add all of these up together on the evolutionary time scale, you have 460 million years of rock depositing here. This is obviously not compatible with the Bible. But the reason why we have such a great idea of these rock layers is largely because of formations like the Grand Canyon. Because what the Grand Canyon represents is all of these rock layers deposited and then something cut down into them. And the evolutionary theory says there's that tiny little river going along the bottom of the Grand Canyon over the course of millions of years, cut away the gigantic canyon that we now know as the Grand Canyon. So first these rock layers build up, and then a river or something else cuts into them. And looking at the sides of the Grand Canyon, you can see this layered structure. Now, this is important. This is like kind of fundamental to our understanding of science. When we look at this layered structure, we are not looking at the past. Okay, you cannot just look at these layers and magically know when and how they appeared. We are looking at the present. In the present, there are these rock layers here. How did they get there? Well, that's for us to figure out. But we don't just know it. We're not looking at the past, we're looking at the present. Now, here's where this article comes in with something really interesting. Is in the Grand Canyon, we have layers like this, but we also have layers that go like this. They are bent, just like that. And if you look in the handout that I gave to you, on page 2, you can see an actual photograph there, and I'll go ahead and show you the scale of the photograph. There's a couple of people that you can just barely see. So turn to page 2, and the people I circled on my copy with this red pen. There's a little person right there, and then another one down here. Yep, so it's easier to understand. Yeah, these are huge. But at the same time, they're not like, visible from space huge. But you can see here these layers, and I'm kind of drawing it wrong, so I guess I should draw it to match the photo. You can see here these layers. They go something like this. They go down, and then up. And they all do that. It's basically a 90-degree bend. They're going from sideways to vertical. And the question is, how did they bend? Because everybody agrees that they were laid down flat when they were first laid down, and everybody agrees that they were bent after they laid down. But what happens if you try to bend a solid rock?
It breaks.
It fractures, right, it breaks. So if this had been laid down and solidified and then bent, what we would see is lots and lots of cracks, especially on the outside edge of the rock, of the bend. But we don't see those cracks. They're not there. We see a smooth rock layer with no cracks due to bending in it. We see lots of smooth rock layers with no cracks due to bending. And here's the deal. So I've explained to you the evolutionary story for how these rock layers got here. Anybody want to guess what we who believe in the Bible say about how these rocks got here? Yeah?
No. What we believe in?
Yeah. So you don't believe in evolution, you don't believe in the millions of year stuff. So how did these rock layers get here?
When God created the earth.
Okay, so that's one answer. Maybe God created the earth with these layers already in place. And that's possible. We'll leave that open to possibility. Everett, did you have something different?
No, I was gonna say the same thing.
Same thing, okay, right. So a lot of scientists laugh at people who believe the Bible because they think that's all we can do, is we can say, well, I guess God just made it that way, and then I can turn off my brain. And I'm not making fun of your answer, but I am saying that is how we are mischaracterized by a lot of people. So what we actually say, now we don't know, what at some point you have to say God made it. But what we say regarding the sedimentary rock layers, because it is very clear, these rock layers match up what we observe about how sedimentary rock forms. So if God did make it this way, then it seems like God is trying to tell a story that never really happened. And that feels deceptive. Even if you're willing to say that God can do whatever he wants, it just feels like God is trying to make us learn a story that never happened. So instead, what we are saying, or what creationists say, is that all of these rock layers originated at the same time in a worldwide flood. So we have here the waters of Noah's flood covering the ground. And of course, these waters would be very turbulent. They would be, pushing sand and silt and clay and all kinds of stuff in, just all over the place, all different sized particles and boulders and I don't know, probably not so much boulders. But the idea is that there's going to be lots of different materials getting all pushed around here in the water. But then, as the water begins to settle, and you can actually do this experiment. I thought about setting it up in here, but I think it might take a little longer than an hour to do. But if you mix a whole bunch of different kinds of clay and sand into a tank of water, and you stir it up real good, and you get it all agitated, and then you allow it to settle down, what ends up happening is it forms layers.
I did that in science.
Oh, have you done that? Yeah. It's and I think the layers are based on density, if I recall correctly. So the more dense rock would sink to the bottom, and then the less dense, and so on. But it's not necessarily the case. There's other factors that can affect the formation of layers. But the point is that creationists and evolutionists both believe that the layers of sedimentary rock were deposited by water. The difference is that they think it happened extremely slowly, over 460 million years, whereas we believe it happened relatively quickly, as in like within 1 year, or maybe, a couple years of Noah's flood. Now, where this article comes into play is it finds a way to test which of these might be true. Because if we can all agree that these rocks were deposited by water, and we can all agree that these bends happened after the rock layers formed, then if it was formed this way, you would expect cracks to form. But if it were formed this way, where the water was soft, or not the water, the rock layers were still soft, they were still sand, and then the earth uplifted, due to like the tectonic plates bumping into each other and making mountains, then you would have no problem explaining layers like this because the earth is still soft, right? Imagine mixing up cement and then forming it into some different shape before it sets, right? You can do that because it hasn't set yet, it hasn't hardened. But you can't do that here because obviously these layers are going to be hardening, millions of years before they were bent. So the presence of these bends here in the side of the Grand Canyon and in plenty of other places, we only know about the Grand Canyon because it's a giant cut into the earth and we don't have a lot of those. So the presence of these bends found in the rock layers with no cracks in them at all indicates that this theory is correct. That is a modern piece of scientific evidence that says that all of the rock layers were deposited quickly and then they were all bent while they were still soft. And it disproves this idea, which is that the rock layers were deposited very slowly and then somehow bent after they hardened, because rock doesn't bend after it's hardened. Now, there's one important line at the end of the article. It's under the heading Rescuing Devices, if you want to turn the page. There's another photo there with a person in the photo. I'll leave it to you to find him. It's like Where's Waldo in black and white.
Found him.
Good job. Excuse me. So Rescuing Devices talks about how evolutionary scientists are aware of this problem. But the solution that they offer is that sometime after this rock was deposited, it must have gotten very, very hot. And then once the rock is hot, it becomes kind of melty. It's not liquid per se, but it becomes soft and flexible if you get it hot enough. And so then I guess that would basically make it, anyway. The point is that, okay, what are you guys doing? It's distracting to me. You have a giant knife. Okay, yeah, let's put away the giant knife, please.
This is not giant.
Okay, put it away anyway. So those who embrace evolution, they try to explain this happening by saying that the rock must have gotten very, very hot. You know, because if you heat up rock a whole lot, then you can bend it. The problem is that there is a kind of rock that responds to heat. Are you guys familiar with a different kind of rock than what's up here?
Yeah.
What's that?
Magma.
Not magma.
Metamorphic.
Metamorphic rock. Very good.
I learned that 6th grade.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
how about
Igneous rock.
Igneous
Yeah.
rock.
Igneous rock is from cooled lava. Sedimentary rock is from sediments deposited by water.
there's
And
another one.
metamorphic rock, it appears when rock gets very hot. So wouldn't you know it, but the rescuing device that evolutionists use to try to save this theory.
That's what I got taught in school.
What?
That bottom theory.
Yeah, this is what they teach in schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying it's wrong.
It is.
I'm saying it's not only unbiblical, it is also bad science. And I'm
I should have
explaining.
called them out.
I mean, you're still young. You sort of can. This won't be the last time you hear about it. But the rescuing device they use to try to prove that this theory is still true is they will say that the rock became very hot and then it was able to bend. The problem is when sedimentary rock gets very hot, metamorphic rocks begin appearing because we have a whole class of rock that appears in the presence of extreme heat. And wouldn't you know it, there's no metamorphic rocks in here. There's no cracks and there's no metamorphic rocks. So there is no evidence that this bend could have happened. This bend, rather, is evidence that this theory is false. That the rock was deposited over a long period of time. That's false. And it is instead verification that the biblical account of the flood is true. Because this is how the flood would do it. It would deposit all of the layers at once, and then those layers would remain soft for years after they were deposited. Because remember, this is a global flood. Everything's going to take years. It's not like a backyard flood that's gone in a week or whatever. And so it would take years, and during those years, something happened to raise up the layers. So you get something like this. You know,
Can you fix that first line, please? It's giving my OCD.
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure exactly what the bedrock would look like here, because this is still a rock, or a solid rock. So this maybe would have cracks on the outside or something. I don't know. I'm not a geologist. I'm just having you guys read a geologist so that you can understand creation theory a little better. So that was the point of this paper, was just to give you one in-depth look at a piece of evidence that favors, a piece of scientific evidence that favors the biblical account of Noah's flood and basically disproves the evolutionary account of millions of years. And so that's what that was about, yeah. Any questions then?
No, I'm good.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. I don't know how far we're going to get tonight.
That will take a half an hour or more.
Yeah, that one took a while. So the next
Wait,
one
you need
is
one more.
the one called, what's that?
Do I need this one more?
Not unless you want to keep it.
We're
as a
making
secret.
monkeys. That's my favorite one.
You want to jump ahead to making monkeys out of men?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that quickly. There's really not a lot to say about this one, to be honest. So yeah, get out making monkeys out of men. I've underlined a few things. So this paper is about how
LeBron was an ape.
Nope,
LeBron kind of looks like an ape.
that's kind of racist.
No,
Not
it's
gonna
not.
lie. That is
No,
literally
no,
like what
no,
Darwin said.
no, like
Is
he's-
that black people
No,
look like
like he's
gorillas, so
big,
they must
like,
have been.
like he's big like an ape.
Okay.
I didn't mean his race.
All right. Well, maybe watch comments
You're
like
dirty
that.
minded.
I'm not dirty-minded. Well, first of all, there is a long and nasty history of calling black people apes. Don't do that. Secondly, that history comes from Darwinian evolution. It actually comes from some of the stuff in this paper here. Because where? No, it's the other one. Shoot. There's a different paper I had you guys read on race. I think it was the one that was due today. But before Darwin, when people spoke of races, it was basically a synonym for your nationality. There was the Irish race and the English race and the Italian race and whatever. But after Darwin published Origin of Species, the idea of race changed.
What about the race to the moon?
Okay. So after Darwin published Origin of Species, the idea of race changed. And I drew this on the board for you before. But basically Darwin looked at different races of human from different continents, and he looked at different species of ape. And he noticed that the Europeans looked very much like chimpanzees, and the Africans looked very much like gorillas, and the Asians looked very much like orangutans and stuff like that. And so he actually posited the idea that the different human races are descended from different ape-like ancestors. And naturally, the chimpanzees are the smart ones, so the white Europeans get them, and the gorillas are big, dumb brutes, and so the black people get them. And it was extremely racist. What's that?
Javian isn't dumb.
I know he's not, yeah, because it's wrong. Evolution is wrong. And thankfully, as a society, we have moved past those ideas, although the theory of evolution...
I had a dream!
The theory of evolution is still inherently racist. But, alright, let's talk about making monkeys out of men, since that's the article you wanted to read. So human fossils, almost, yeah, I saw it. Human fossils are fairly rare. You don't see a lot of them, which also has some implications for the flood, namely that humans were better able to escape the floodwaters than their animal companions, and that's why there aren't many humans in the fossil record, but there's lots of animals. But that's not what we're talking about right here. What we're talking about is that right around the time that Darwin wrote on the Origin of Species, there were a couple of fossils that were found. And this article really focuses on one called Neanderthal man. Have you guys ever heard of Neanderthals?
Yeah, I read the article.
You read it in the article? Have you ever heard of it outside of that article? Okay, so remember the drawing I showed you of you have your ape-like ancestors here, and then you've got like the bent over dude, and then you've got the actual human walking big and tall.
It was longer than that, though.
Yeah, I know, there's more pictures in it. But anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because these exist in the fossil record. These are apes. And these exist in the fossil record. These are humans. But these don't actually exist. There are no fossils of transitional forms between apes and humans. And according to Darwin's theory of evolution, there should be, because these transitional forms existed for millions of years. We have ape-like ancestors going back to close to the Cretaceous era, 65 million years ago, and then we have human ancestors, which supposedly only appeared 50,000 years ago. So after Darwin published his theory on the origin of species, there was a race to try to find what's called the missing link. Have you guys heard of that before? The missing link. And what this article is about is how Neanderthal has largely and for a long time been thought of as the missing link. That Neanderthal man is here, basically. If you were to ask an ordinary person who believes in evolution, what is the name of the missing link, or of the link between ape-like ancestors and humans?
Oh, I know.
They would say they're Neanderthals.
No.
Okay, what would they say?
Apes.
Apes?
Apes.
Apes. Okay, very good. Yeah. Good job.
Amens.
Lame jokes. I'm sorry I don't have more lame jokes prepared to keep your attention. You have to fill them in for me.
Not.
So no, we're not doing that. Who's there?
Daniel.
Daniel who?
Daniel Larson.
Hey, yeah, that's the last time I trust you, I guess.
I'm surprised you didn't just say 6'7".
So here's the deal. When Neanderthal fossils were first discovered, they were categorized as human. If you look in the article, Making Monkeys Out of Men, at the end, no, in the third paragraph's all about that. Neanderthal man was first discovered in 1856 by workmen digging in a limestone cave in the Neander Valley. That's how Neanderthal got its name, because the name of the valley where it was found was the Neander Valley. Listen to this. The first Neanderthal skeleton consisted of a skull cap, 2 femurs, which are your thigh bones, 2 humeri, which are your, I believe it's your upper arm bone. Yeah, 2 femurs, 2 humeri, and other bone fragments. So they did not have a full skeleton. They had part of a skull and a couple of larger leg bones and a couple of larger arm bones. Huh?
This is fake, right? This is not how it really was.
No, this is what happens. This is real. The Neanderthals are real. They were discovered. They are skeletons, fossilized skeletons discovered in the Neander Valley in Germany.
Didn't God make Adam and Eve? Well, I'm still confused right now.
Okay. What's confusing?
Oh, how were those created? Did like Adam mate with a gorilla?
No. The missing link doesn't exist. Maybe I'm telling this out of order.
That's what I asked. That's what I meant.
Okay, no. The missing link does not exist.
Okay.
Nobody was looking for a missing link until Darwin published his paper on the origin of species. And then people realized, oh, there should be some kind of primitive human that is halfway between an ape and a modern man. And so before Darwin published that, the Neanderthal skeleton was found, and it was ruled to be human. An expert in human anatomy, that is somebody who studies human skeletons as is living, looked at the Neanderthal fossils and said, yeah, these are human. And nobody really cared because, they found humans in a valley in Germany. Big whoop, But shortly after that was classified, Darwin's book hit the shelves. And suddenly everybody is looking for the missing link. And a lot of people were convinced that the Neanderthals were the missing link, even though they had an expert already who said, yeah, these were just human beings. They had a geologist who is not an expert on skeletons. A geologist studies rocks for a living, okay? But these are fossils, so technically they're rocks. They're just skeleton-shaped rocks. But they had a geologist re-examine the Neanderthal skeleton and say, you know what? That's actually the missing link. Yeah. And so after Darwin's book was published, they made monkeys out of men. That's what the title of the article is about. They had fossils of people from the Neander Valley, and later on those people were found to suffer from arthritis, or at least the one fossil found in the Neander Valley was found to be suffering from arthritis, which is what the original anatomist said 100 years prior. But this wasn't until 1957 that the Neanderthal skeleton was re-examined. Yep.
What's arthritis?
Arthritis is a bone disease. It makes your joints kind of rub together in a way that's very uncomfortable. And if you have arthritis, you tend to kind of be bent over. Honestly, you tend to walk and move in whatever way doesn't hurt, because arthritis is very painful.
Oh,
and that can affect the way your bones look.
Parkinson's?
Parkinson's, has tremors.
Yeah.
So arthritis isn't tremors. Arthritis is just a lot of pain whenever you move your joints. Basically, your knuckles and your knees and stuff, they have some soft tissue between the bones, so that when you move them, you don't have bone rubbing on bone. You have this soft tissue. And arthritis is a disease that causes the soft tissue to go away. Wow. And so then you end up, every time you move an arthritic joint, it's very painful.
Don't people just get like metal joints?
Some people get replaced joints, yes. You can do that with a knee or a hip.
I would do that.
You can't do that with your knuckles, though. So
how much is it, like $1,000?
It's like $30,000 or more.
No, I feel like
In any case, okay, back to the article.
Andy.
Really, the whole article was just about how Neanderthal was originally human, Yep. The first people who examined it looked at it and said, yep, that was human. And then Darwin's book comes out. So Darwin didn't look at Neanderthal man, but he published his book. And so the race for the missing link was on. And as a result, Neanderthal man was briefly characterized, not briefly, like for a century, characterized as an ape-like ancestor. So basically, Darwin invented this guy, and then a scientist who was looking for this guy said, hey, I found this guy. And then, about 100 years later, we had more actual scientists. I shouldn't say, okay, the guy who lied was also a scientist. He was a geologist. But we have actual anatomists, would be the name there, who were like, oh yeah, actually, these guys were actually human. The problem is this little journey into falsehood here lasted about 100 years. And even still today, you hear people talk about Neanderthals as if they are a distant ancestor to humans. You know, maybe they're not the middle guy, but they're like the guy between the middle and the modern time. And that is just not true. Neanderthals have, let me see, I underlined it here. Neanderthals have, they're a little stout, they're a little stooped, but all of their features fall within the range of normal human anatomy. And there's some really good quotes here. If you look on the back, I've got a couple of blocked out quotes here.
We're on the next one.
We're still on making monkeys out of men, but we're on the back here. There's a couple of paragraphs that are blocked out quotes. The first one says, if he, that is Neanderthal man, could be reincarnated and placed in a New York subway, provided he were bathed, shaved, and dressed in modern clothing, it is doubtful whether he would attract any more attention than some of its other denizens. In other words, Neanderthal man looks like anybody you might meet in the modern setting. He does not look like some kind of ancient ape-like ancestor. There is no evidence that he was of diminished intelligence at all. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that Neanderthals were every bit as intelligent as modern humans, obviously because they were modern humans. And, yep.
Did Neanderthals have like a special ed disorder?
Well, the one that was found in Neander Valley was found to have arthritis, but they've been found all over the world since then. And it turns out they're just like people who are stout. They have certain patterns in the way their skeletons are formed, but they're not inhuman. They're not subhuman.
So like me, basically.
They're regular old people. Yeah.
Let us whip him. I'm gonna whip him hard.
So another good quote is near the bottom of the back page here. It says, detailed comparisons of Neanderthal skeletal remains with those of modern humans have shown that there is nothing in Neanderthal anatomy that conclusively indicates all of those different abilities inferior to those of modern humans. So there's nothing in Neanderthal skeletons that would indicate that there is anything different between them and a modern human. They are the same. And so nowadays, scientists know that Neanderthals are also Homo sapiens, which is the scientific word for human. Homo sapiens. No. Homo means same, and they're called Homo sapiens because they are the same as us. They are us. Okay, so did you actually like that article, Daniel, or did you just like the title?
I like the title.
Okay, well, I'm glad we spent so much time there. All right, so yeah, the one I really wanted to go over with you guys, aside from the bent rock layers, is the 6 evidences of a young Earth. So have a look at that one there. These are, so the other 2 articles are kind of a very long treatment of a single subject. This article is a bunch of short treatments of 6 very different subjects. So I just kind of want to go through those and show you guys more evidence. This is all just kind of a machine gun of scientific evidence for the creation account and or against the evolutionary account. And they tend to focus on the age of the Earth because that's the hugest discrepancy. And that's the biggest difference is evolution requires an old Earth and creation demands a young Earth. So if you can find evidence for a young Earth, that is both a shot against evolution and in favor of creation. So that's where we put a lot of focus. So evidence one has radiocarbon in diamonds. I've talked to you guys before about radioactive decay, but I'll forgive you if you don't remember it. The long and short of it is a carbon atom has 12 protons. Oh, do I want to draw this?
Yes.
I guess I have to. Fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6,
6,
7,
8.
I'm sorry.
10,
I'm real sorry.
No, you're not.
11,
That
12.
one you do.
Okay, no. I'm just
Hold
saying
your
the
hand up.
numbers.
Hold your hand up.
I'll give you $10.
Okay, a carbon atom. Please, Everett, put the foot down. Okay. A carbon atom is defined as having 12 protons.
Highwater's on.
Boys, do you know what a proton is?
Obviously, I'm one of them that signed it out. It's protons and
Okay, shut up, Daniel. Everett, do you know what a proton is?
Was a Newton.
It's a new time.
It's part of an atom, okay? An atom is made
So
up
it makes
of
up the atom.
protons and electrons. The electrons are not part of this discussion, but an element is defined by the number of protons in its atom, and a carbon atom has 12 protons. Now, most carbon atoms also have 12 neutrons, and I guess I have to draw all 12 of them here. So what is that? 6,
I just had a test
7,
on the
8,
sister.
9, 10, 11, 12. So most carbon atoms have 12 neutrons, and this is called C12. Yes. But in actuality, not all carbon atoms have 12 neutrons. Some of them have 14. They get 2 bonus neutrons here. And so that is called, are you ready for this? C14. And now I'm second guessing myself if it's, why am I thinking it's actually 6 protons? Oh my gosh, hydrogen, helium, lithium,
Carbon.
beryllium.
Oxygen.
No, that's wrong. And helium. Oh my gosh. Boy, it's been too long. I
Oxygen, helium.
think carbon atoms are, oh, this is gonna bother me. This was my specialty in college and I forgot.
Uh-oh.
My phone is on the camera mounts.
I got you. What
Here,
do I need to look
mine.
up?
How many protons in a carbon atom? I feel so stupid for not just knowing this. I'm blaming the pneumonia. Okay, I have pneumonia. I'm allowed to have a case of the stupids every now
How
and
many
then.
protons are in a carbon atom?
First one to get it gets
How
100
many
years on record.
protons got a atom?
Oh my gosh.
How many protons are in a carbon atom?
I think there's only 6.
6 protons.
Okay, crap. So I drew it wrong. All right, fine. So a carbon atom, this is actually a lot easier to draw, so I'm thankful in a way. Carbon atom.
Thank you, ChatGPT. Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Carbon atom has 6 protons.
Ah!
There we
I
go.
was kidding.
And a special kind of carbon has 8 neutrons.
48.
Come on.
Can I do a backflip through your
1, 2,
window
3, 4, 5,
again?
6, 7, 8. There we go. Okay. So this kind of carbon is called C14 because it is the sum of the protons and the neutrons. That makes 14. 6 protons, 8 neutrons. And over time, this is unstable. This doesn't last. Eventually, it goes through what's called radioactive decay, and it jettisons a couple of neutrons. There they go. And so we end up with a very similar looking atom, in that it still has the 6 protons, and protons and neutrons are actually about the same size, so don't ask why I drew them tiny. But anyway, it ends up with 6 protons and 6 neutrons, and this is called C12. This is stable. This will last forever. If you have a carbon-12 atom and you just let it sit there, it will just sit there forever. Whereas if you have a carbon-14 atom and it just sits there, eventually it's going to launch a couple of neutrons and become carbon-12. It's a little complicated how this works, but the bottom line is if you have a sample entirely made of C14 and you allow it to decay entirely into C12, it takes about 50,000 years. Okay, that's the limit. So what does that mean? That means if you find carbon-14 anywhere, it has existed for less than 50,000 years. Okay? Now, obviously, as Bible-believing Christians, we believe everything has existed for less than 50,000 years. So carbon-14 doesn't really mean much for that end of it. But if you believe that the Earth is billions of years old, then you should not find carbon-14 in say, a diamond that has been hidden from the atmosphere for billions of years, right? So we had our rock layers. I should have just kept them up there, right? So here's your bedrock. You got your sedimentary rock layers, whatever. And somewhere way down here is like 460 million years ago. That's what MYA stands for. 460 million years ago. And way down here, you find a diamond. Here is your diamond. Oh, look at that shiny diamond there. And you find a diamond down here. That diamond is going to be made of entirely carbon-12 atoms, right? Because think about it. If these disappear after 50,000 years, and this thing is found from a layer of rock that was over 460 million years ago, then obviously any carbon-14 that is trapped in this diamond will have turned into carbon-12. Does that make sense? You follow me? Everett, do you follow me?
Carbon atom 14.
You don't follow me at all. This is a timer, okay? Carbon-14 takes 50,000 years to turn into carbon-12. That's extremely oversimplified, but I'm trying to reach you, okay?
The radioactive stuff.
All that you need to know is that if a diamond is over 50,000 years old, it will have no carbon-14. Okay, you got that?
Yes, sir.
So we found a diamond way, way, way down in the bedrock that is well over 50,000 years old, right? It's over 400 million years old if the evolutionary theory is true. And so what scientists did was they tested that diamond to see if there was any carbon-14 in it. And wouldn't you know, there was. There was quite a bit of it. Which means that the carbon atoms in this diamond are not 460 million years old. They are less than 50,000 years old. That's what that first evidence is saying. So that's one strong piece of evidence against an old Earth. Now, could it be less? I just said it has to be less than 50,000 years old. So that's fine for the creation account. Even though 50,000 years is older than the Earth really
You
is.
said like 10 or 20,000 to 50,000.
Well, we believe the Earth is about 6,000 years old.
I know what you're saying.
All right, whatever.
67. No, he's gonna stab me.
All right, here's a fun one. The recession of the moon.
You.
I know what that means.
Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here is the Earth. It's a blue sphere. There it is. It's mostly water. So there's the Earth, and here's the moon. Right? What do we call the path that the moon takes as it goes around the Earth?
The evolution.
Dude, what do you call the path that the moon takes as it goes around the Earth?
Orbitation.
The orbit. Just the orbit, okay? But here's a fun fact. This is observed science. This is true. As the moon orbits the Earth, it actually is moving a little bit farther away. Did you know that? The moon is being slung outward away from the Earth. And as time marches on, the moon is going farther and farther from the Earth. The orbit is getting bigger and bigger. Okay? This is observed science. Now, it's not getting bigger very quickly. I think over the course of about 6,000 years, the moon has moved maybe 800 feet. Or was it 800 miles? Let's see here. It's in evidence number 2. 800 feet. Yeah, so not very far.
Not that bad.
But, yeah, so let's call this a rate of 800 feet per 6,000 years. And then if you want to reduce that fraction, you can, but real math guys know that you don't ever have to reduce fractions. So, 800 feet in 6,000 years. Now, here's the fun part. That's no problem for us as Bible-believing creationists. But if you believe that the Earth is, that the moon is 4 billion years old,
Yep.
which evolutionary theory says, then that means you can follow the orbit inward. Now we're extrapolating what happened in the past, right? Because if the moon is this far away from the Earth this year, then it must be less far away from the Earth the year before, right? If the moon is moving away from the Earth into the future, then if you were to go back in time, it would be closer to the Earth. Now here's the problem. How far back in time can you go before the Earth and the moon are touching each other?
5 or 5.
Well, it moves 0.1333333 feet.
Huh.
Per year? Oh, you just reduced the fraction for me?
No,
Okay.
I divided 6,800 by 6,000.
Yes, that's called reducing a fraction.
I
Anyway,
have 26 in math.
okay, yep, good job. So if you extrapolate backward, listen, if the moon is moving away from the Earth 800 feet every 6,000 years, you can extrapolate that backward, and you would find that the moon would have been touching the Earth less than 1.5 billion years ago, right? But the theory of evolution says that the moon has been in orbit for 4 billion years.
40?
4 billion years. So how?
What?
I'm like this close, Daniel. Yeah, it's your little outbursts, and then Everett gets distracted, and then nobody's hearing anything. Okay?
I heard.
All right, so then explain this to me, Daniel. Come up here, and explain to the class what I just drew.
On this side?
Yeah, you don't get to draw anything.
Okay,
You just have to explain what's there. Explain it so Everett understands.
This is like the orbital that the moon take in the other solution, not the one that we believe in, says that it did
Okay,
that
so
40
this is
million times.
Orbitation. It has the orbits. It moves out.
Is it 400 billion
All right,
times?
let Everett talk. He's actually making sense.
So as the Earth orbits, it orbits out slowly, and over 6,000 years, it's orbited out 800 foot.
Okay.
So I think, what was it, about 1 billion years ago, it would have been touching?
Yeah,
Billion and a half.
inside
Yes.
of us.
Okay, well, I'm glad Everett was paying attention, because
So was that. I knew that. You
I don't
interrupted.
know. You were trying to point at this one, which this was not part of that discussion.
No, I
All right, thank you, Everett, for restoring my faith in your learning. You did a good job. Yeah. So that's the problem with the old age of the moon, is that if you follow the observed evidence backwards, it cannot be more than 1.5 billion years old. Now, obviously, we think it's much younger than that, but the evolutionists got some explaining to do because their theory doesn't line up with actual observed scientific evidence. And that is what I've been all about in this class, is yes, the Bible is true, but you don't even need the Bible to show a scientific case against the theory of evolution. And that's what we're doing here. All right, with the 5 minutes we have left, I want to talk about evidence number 4 on the 6 evidences for a young Earth. This is a very easy one. Dinosaur bones. You dig them up, right? They're made out of rock, and they look like dinosaurs. But people have started analyzing dinosaur bones for something that they never looked for before because they never expected it. And it turns out there are soft tissues remaining in dinosaur bones. We're talking about connective tissue, like the stuff in the joints that I was explaining earlier, and blood vessels, and even cells. Now, those things would normally break down and rot over the course of hundreds of years, not millions of years. After millions of years, all of that stuff should have been long gone. But these dinosaur fossils still have soft tissue. And this is not like a rocky imitation of soft tissue. This is actual soft tissue on dinosaur bones.
Is it still alive?
It's not still alive, no. But it's soft tissue.
So like it's dried out?
Yeah, I guess you could say it's dried out. It's organic tissue. What were we gonna say?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the cells are obviously dead, but they are reporting finding intact cells. And here's another cool thing. So this,
Are you gonna walk this back?
this article, no, you can keep it. Okay, I don't have a date for this article. This article was written several years ago. And ever since then, they have been finding more. Almost every dinosaur bone that they study this way, they are finding soft tissue on it. And there is no conceivable way that soft tissue could have lasted for 65 plus million years on a dinosaur bone. The only way that soft tissue can exist on the dinosaur bones is if they died within the last couple thousand years. That is, or even less than that. So that is an extremely strong piece of evidence that the dinosaurs did not die 65 million years ago, but they in fact died much more recently than that. The last one is evidence number 5, human population growth. This is just a fun little math exercise, I guess. Suppose you have a population that doubles every 150 years, okay? So let's start off with 2 people. And then after 150 years, how many people would there be?
4.
4, yeah, okay. And then after another 150 years, how many would there be?
8.
Very good. Okay, I'm going to stop drawing circles because it gets big really fast. We go to 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024. We're already up to 1,000, okay? So now we're going to have about 2,000, and then 4,000. I'm going to do, okay, 8K, 16K, yep. And it goes pretty soon you're going to be in the millions, and then you'll be in the billions. And this is only every 150 years. So how many generations have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12, 13. 10 generations to go from 2 to 2,000. You figure another 10 generations will take you from 2,000 to 2 million. So that's 20 generations. 20 times 150 is going to be 3,000. Okay, so in 3,000 years, the human population would go from 2 to, what did I say, 2 million? 2 million? Okay, so then it would take another 2,000 years. The point is that the idea that the population of the earth doubles every 150 years holds. That is a true idea. As long as we've been keeping track of human population, or even estimating it, going back into the early days of history, it seems to hold that the population of the earth doubles every 150 years. And this works out very nicely with the timetable given in the Bible. If the earth is about 6,000 years old, you would expect about 8 to 10 billion people on it. And that's what we've got. The problem is, if you think that humanity has existed for 50,000 years, then what you would actually end up with is, I think it's 10 to the 99th power. Is that what it says there? Yeah, 10 to the 99th power. That is a 1 with 99 zeros behind it. I don't think we even have a name for that number. So the trend of human population growth fits the biblical timeline, and it is completely thrown into all kinds of disarray if you imagine humanity as a 50,000-year-old species. So that is just one more case where observable science, when we can actually measure things in the modern time, defies the predictions of the theory of evolution, which is not based on observable science, but rather wishful thinking.
Do you want these?
Okay, I want any homework that you did. Yeah, I think I gave you back your homework. Let's close with the Lord's Prayer, and then I've got a homework assignments. Have I got a homework assignment?
Please no.
Yep, I do.
I think.
All right, let's start with the Lord's Prayer, and then I'll pass out my stuff. Ready? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Okay, in addition to your homework, I also have invitations for you guys. We have a Christmas celebration happening with our youth group. We're leaving to go to another church. This is for you, Everett.
All that hurt.
Now we're going to do a Christmas celebration at Trinity Lutheran Church in Fergus Falls, and we are leaving, Daniel, because we are leaving on this Sunday at 2:45. We should be back by 7, supper's included. Yeah, RSVP to me if you can go. See you guys.